Let's start with the fundamental question. What exactly are objects in the context of object-oriented programming? Objects are instances of classes. Think of them as individual building blocks that bring your program to life. Each object contains two key components: data, which we refer to as properties, and behavior, which we call methods. To understand this better, consider an analogy. A class is like a blueprint for a building, and the objects are the actual buildings that are constructed from that blueprint. Each building or object will have its own unique characteristics, but they all follow the same basic design. Now let's explore the basics of defining a class in PHP. The general structure involves using the keyword class, followed by the name you want to give your class. Inside the class block, you define properties, which are variables that hold data, and methods, which are functions that define the behavior of the object. In this example, we're creating a class called car. It has two properties: color and brand. Both are declared as public, meaning they can be accessed from outside the class. It also has one method called start, which returns the string engine started. This method defines an action that a car object can perform. Now that we have a class defined, let's see how to create an object from it. This process is called instantiation. The syntax for creating an object in PHP is straightforward. You declare a variable and assign to it new class name. The keyword new is essential here. It tells PHP to create a new instance of the class. After the new keyword, you specify the name of the class you want to instantiate, followed by parentheses. This creates an object of that class and assigns it to the variable you declared. Let's put what we've learned into practice and create our first object. First, we create an object named myCar from our car class, using the new keyword. Now let's set some properties for this particular car. We'll set the color property to red and the brand property to Toyota. To access and set these properties, we use the arrow operator, which we'll discuss in more detail shortly. Finally, we use the command echo mycar-color to print the color of our car object, which will output the word red. To access the properties of an object, you use the arrow operator, which is a minus sign followed by a greater than sign. The basic syntax is $object-property. This operator allows you to both read and modify the properties of an object. It's a fundamental tool for working with objects in PHP. Here are some examples of how to use the arrow operator to access and modify properties. To read a property, you simply use echo $object-property. As you can see, we're reading the color and brand of our myCar object. To modify a property, you assign a new value to it using the equals sign. In these examples, we're changing the color of myCar to blue and the brand to Honda. In addition to properties, objects also have methods, which define their behavior. To call a method, you use the arrow operator just like with properties, but you also need to add parentheses at the end. The syntax is $object-method. The parentheses are important because they tell PHP that you're calling a function. If the method requires any arguments, you would put them inside the parentheses. Let's look at some examples of calling methods. First, we call the start method on our myCar object and store the result in a variable called $result. Then we echo the value of result, which outputs engine started. You can also call the method directly within an echo statement, as shown in the second example. Both approaches achieve the same result: executing the method and displaying its return value. One of the powerful features of object-oriented programming is the ability to create multiple objects from the same class. Each object is independent and has its own set of property values. In this example, we're creating two car objects, $car1 and $car2. We set the color of $car1 to red and the color of $car2 to blue. Even though both objects are instances of the same class, they have different property values. This allows you to model real-world scenarios where you have multiple distinct entities of the same type. Let's summarize the key differences between properties and methods. Properties are variables that hold data about an object. You access them using the syntax $object -property. Methods are functions that define an object's behavior. You call them using the syntax $object -method. Remember the parentheses. Properties store information while methods perform actions. If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit codelucky.com for more such useful content.